Hello and welcome back to the How I Ripped Off Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. My name is Chip Thompson and I'm joined as always by Mr. MC.
That would be me.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine.
Good.
It's like we haven't seen each other since we last recorded. All very natural. And welcome back. This is episode 6 of season 1 of Chip. Armless Part 2, which is very difficult to say. Not a lot of good titles in this show so far.
Or anything else.
But what happened last time, MC?
Well, we finally got a peek into the background of Ridley.
It's not Dudley, stop calling him Dudley.
So yes, as we suspected, is an entirely original character concept.
Like everything in this show.
Yes, he's sort of a half demon. But basically he was bitten by a demon raccoon teddy bear or whatever it was.
Where did the raccoon come from?
It's like in an alleyway. We mentioned it.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then he got demon infection stuff.
Yes, I think that's the wording I used was infection.
Yes.
And it seems to be sort of taking over half his body when he gets enraged.
Yeah, so it gives him superpowers, but sort of at the cost of causing him incredible pain and slowly turning him into some weird demon thing.
Teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And he set Chip on a journey to what we think is to get revenge before he's either killed or taken over by the Ricola, I think they were called. Raccoon Ricola. It's all very confusing. But let's find out, MC. Let's get into it. Let's see if he turns into a full teddy bear and if indeed he'll steal a picnic basket.
As a final note, also, Chip went into the sewers just sort of blindly wandering around in the hope of stumbling across the Ricola demons. Instead, he found some mafia types doing a drug deal, as one does.
In the sewers.
Yeah.
And this is why I didn't want to mention it. This is Armless Part 2.
Previously on Chip.
It was quicker than lightning, and really didn't have the chance to defend himself against whatever it was, as it sank its teeth into Ridley's shoulder.
Ooh.
Just then, a sudden burst of enormous pain shot through Ridley's body, started at his shoulder. He collapsed to the floor. In amongst the being pinned down and being unable to breathe, a deep rush of aggression raged within Ridley, and he knew what was coming. His entire right arm was 5 times as big as usually, spouting arms Hulk Hogan would be scared to have. Not only that, it was ravaged with bruise-like colours, yellow, purple, brown and greens, with small pimples and unnatural swollen lumps over the skin. He made light work of the demons, and very soon the back room of the bar was covered in demon blood and parts. Who'd they hurt? Ridley swallowed hard, scratching his arm.
Just get it done. They're called Ricolas and they bite. They infect their victims with this venom, which works as a duplicate too. After a few hours, a new Ricola will hatch out of whoever has been bitten.
The two men stopped arguing and turned to face Chip. One was showing the other an open briefcase. Ooh. It was full of little plastic bags filled with white powder. My mistake, Chip said.
You're damn right.
The man without the briefcase pulled out his gun, aiming directly at Chip's head. Mastering a poker face was a tricky business. Poker face. Pop culture reference. Relevant pop culture reference.
That was after all this as well, so you're super up to date.
It was somewhere in the middle between writing this and where we are now. Mastering a poker face was a tricky business. You don't want to give anything away, and yet you don't want to seem like you're not trying to give something away. I know cards.
Ace of Spades.
The Jack of the Jokers. It takes years of practice, and only the best card players were able to pull it off, like me. Ridley had an average poker face, but he was great at reading people. By watching your eyes after the first few hands, he would know the instant you had a good hand or a bad one. He would know what you were going for, whether it be a straight or a royal flush.
The only 2 things in cards.
He was really good at playing snap. He knew when you had an unbeatable hand, and he especially knew when a fellow card player had nothing. And if all that failed, Ridley was also an excellent cheat. But so for that night, he hadn't needed the spare cards he carried. He was on fire. Every hand was a winning hand, and the cash was beginning to pile up. So he was actually winning with his skill this time rather than cheating.
Makes a change.
Was it last episode where a couple of times it was like, oh no, I'm in pain, mutant powers. Hey Ridley, there's a card game. Okay, be right there.
Yeah, basically.
There's a very much a pattern to these episodes. It's Ridley's doing some hustling. He goes to Chip. He breaks into Chip's apartment, gives him a mission. Then Cat's around sometimes as well. And this is the format of every episode so far.
I forgot Cat was a character. I thought he meant Cats the Animals. Like, just a group of cats just appeared. Is it a Cats musical crossover?
Oh no, please no. This is already bad enough. He knew when you had an unbeatable hand, and he especially knew when a fellow card player had nothing. And if all that failed, Ridley was also an excellent cheat. But so far that night, he hadn't needed the spare cards he carried. He was on fire. Every hand was a winning hand, and the cash was beginning to pile up. His hands were magic, and seemed to be picking up every card he could possibly wish for. Someone up there loved him. Oh, Cloud Heaven.
Good.
I'll see your 50, and I'll raise you $100. Mac grinned. Mac was a part of a trio of card players that Ridley had known throughout the years. The games mostly occurred in Bernie's apartment. They were human, and all as devious as each other, and there was never an honest game played between them. Is that not like a weird environment where you're playing cards with a bunch of people and you know they're all cheating bastards?
Isn't that kind of makes it level, though? Because then you got to it's not just skill with the cards, it's also skill at cheating. I figure it's sort of honour among thieves kind of thing.
But even that didn't stop Ridley's fortune this evening.
Here's your 100, and what say we take it up a notch? I'll raise you 300.
That's me out, Bernie said with a sigh. Pete threw his cards down onto the table too, giving a shake of the head to indicate the fact he was out also. "You're bluffing," Max said, trying to catch Ridley out. Ridley just glared back, showing no hint of weakness or strength in his eyes.
Wait.
Yeah, go on.
Oh no, okay, so I was just a bit confused because there's 4 people here, but it said about trio of card players, but I guess that doesn't include Ridley.
No, Mac, Pete and Bernie are the trio of card players there. I also like how do you show strength in your eyes? It's like your pupil does a flex. Mac wiped his mouth and let out a puff of air. He's great. He's got a great poker face, hasn't he, Mac? He's like, fucking shit. Fuck. What the fuck am I going to do? Wife's going to fucking kill me. I'm going to lose the kids. Shit.
I'll bluff. I'll pretend I got a really good hand.
Ooh, 7 aces. Ridley just glared, showing no hint of weakness or strength in his eyes. Mac wiped his mouth and let out a puff of air. He picked up his last remaining dollar bills, a selection of 10s, 20s and 50s, and chucked them into the winnings pile. "What do you say, Ridley? You game to lay it all on the line?" If I was Ridley at this point, I'd be like, yeah, I'm totally all in. Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. Both Bernie and Pete stared intensely at the money sitting in the middle of the table, wishing they had one more chance to play a hand.
Do you think that the hustler is the person who... I can't remember his fucking name. The guy with the dumb voice that you just did
Mac,
is actually hustling.
You see, it
Ridley.
says it there in the text in front of you.
Don't like reading it. When I read the text, my eyes start burning.
No, I completely
bad.
understand. Yeah, that's fair. What was your original point?
Do you think he's hustling?
Oh, do you think it's an Uber bluff?
Yeah.
He's like...
Double bluff.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
I know poker. Both Bernie and Pete stared intensely at the money sitting in the middle of the table, wishing they had one more chance to play a hand.
You do realise this would mean the end of the game?
Ridley asked. "Yeah, but I want to prove that a bluff don't get you nowhere. Now, are you in, or are you out?" Calmly, Ridley peered down at his 5 cards and pushed his entire winnings from that night into the middle of the table. Drama.
Does that actually work? Like, don't you have to have equal amounts?
I don't know.
People just sort of shove random shit into a card table and everyone seems to know how much it's worth. It's like, I'll raise you a brick and 2 cough lozenges.
That's when you're getting really desperate. Just putting stuff out of your pocket like, here's some fluff, a key, I don't know what door it goes into. The 2 remaining players shed a glare before Mac laid down his cards for all to see. The 10 of spades, the jack of spades, the queen of diamonds, the king of clubs, and the ace of spades. Mac smiled broadly and began to laugh. He's got a straight MC.
He was double bluffing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but then even then, I feel like that's a really bad Uber bluff. Fucking shit. Oh, such bad cards.
I really have a bad hand. Oh no, I hope nobody goes all in and raises the stakes and bets a brick against me.
Unless it was a super double triple Uber bluff.
We're actually playing Monopoly.
Mac smiled broadly and began to laugh. Look like your luck just run out, buddy. Mac reached out for the pile of money he believed was his when Pete reached across and stopped him.
You know the rules, Mac. Everyone's cards must be on the table before a player can collect his winnings.
Fucking hell, Chief Inspector Harato's come back.
But older. And sort of like old man Harato.
Oh, well, he was pretty old anyway.
He was ancient,
Yeah.
but he wasn't old. His experience on the White Cliffs of Dover has aged him.
Well, when he died.
Yeah.
Do you ever think we're coming to the end of our range of voices that we can do? It's a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've got an infinite... yes, I do. All the time. Every week. Literally every week.
Every time I see a new character come up, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
What do we do now?
Yeah.
Mac sat back in his chair with a huge gleam on his face. You have a gleam on your face? Like he's just had loads of Mr. Sheen smeared over it or something.
It's all the sweat from the double buffing. It's making it more shiny.
Fine by me. Come on, Ridley. I'm dying to know what you've got. Looking down at his cards, Ridley couldn't help but smile at the 10 of hearts, Jack of hearts, Queen of hearts, King of hearts, and the Ace of hearts. Could have just said Royal Flush, Royal Straight. I can't remember what it's called.
You
but
wanted to show how much you knew about cards.
I know which order they go in. He tried to lay his hand down, but he couldn't quite move his arm. Ridley tried again, but his arm just wouldn't move.
Uh-oh.
We've all been there. Performance anxiety. Happens to every man.
When your arm turns into a demon.
Well, come on, boy! A slightly more agitated Mac said. Show us! The veins in Ridley's right arm began to swell. The pain came from his shoulder and spread across his entire right side more quickly than it usually did. Falling back in his chair, Ridley dropped his cards. Mac, Bernie and Pete all stood to watch as Ridley's right side became half a demon. Oh no, the teddy bear's come into play. With the mutation complete, Ridley leapt back up, knocking Pete into the nearest wall, drink in the process, and started to destroy the living room.
It's like he's lost control entirely.
Yeah, because he was winning. He wasn't even agitated or threatened or anything. It's just happening more frequently now. Hey man, what are you doing? Bernie yelled. Ridley swung his right arm and knocked the host out with one swift punch. Mac reached into his jacket pocket, going for the handgun he always carried with him. Ridley leapt across the room, knocking Mac down before bolting for the door. Ridley returned and narrowly avoided a shot as a flawed Mac fired to scoop up his winnings. He shot the gun at the money.
Why isn't this working?
Why isn't it magically in my wallet now?
Dude.
That's what bank robbers do, right? They go in, they shoot the safe, all the money comes flying out. Ridley returned and narrowly avoided a shot as a flawed Mac fired to scoop up his winnings from the table and throwing the table in Mac.
So is it... So Mac is firing at Ridley. Is Mac or Ridley trying to take the winnings?
But it's I don't know. It's a very confusing sentence because Ridley avoids the shot from a flawed Mac, but it also says Mac's fired to scoop up his winnings from. I guess as he tried to scoop, but there's a lot of words missing if that's the case. Yeah. And also he's thrown the table in Mac, which is. How do you put a table in someone?
Well,
you need to be half demon teddy bear. He then bolted for the apartment's door, leaving the chaos he had just initiated behind. And that demon part really is getting a lot stronger.
Yeah, man.
There's definitely parallels with like the Incredible Hulk. Did we mention that last week?
Maybe, I'm not sure. It's a good point.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's kind of Doyle mixed with the Incredible Hulk in a way, isn't it? Which means it's a totally original character.
As long as you rip off 2 different sources, it's original.
Please don't sue me, Marvel.
Well, what do we have here?
The dealer with the gun said. He had a rugged look about He had a rugged look
He was
about.
just looking around, but in a very rugged sort of way.
There's just a small urchin standing next to him trying to keep an eye out on what's coming. His eyes were swollen, like he'd missed a fair amount of sleep, and his skin was oily. Ugh. His black matted hair was damp.
Yeah, I'm a ninja turtle.
Something like that. Chip replied, "Bert, I think we should split." His briefcase-holding companion added. He appeared to be a lot younger than his friend, maybe in his early 20s, or possibly even younger.
Why is that, Johnny? The smell getting to you?
Things are getting out of hand. First you raised the price by $2,000, and now we've got the FBI on our asses.
FBI? You frickin' retard. How many federal government agents do you know that carry those daggers?
Size. Chip corrected.
Pardon me, bro?
Bert asked. They're not daggers, they're size.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. What say you chuck those bad boys away?
Chip obliged, throwing the size away.
I thought he was going to throw them at them.
Yeah, I feel like he's just giving away his only weapon against two mafia goons and a little urchin with guns and a briefcase.
Maybe he just wants to avoid any conflict with the mafia dudes, just sort of get them to fuck off.
Yeah, quite possibly. Come on, Bert, let's get out of here.
Shut up, Johnny. Do you really want to leave a witness to our little drug-dealing shindig?
No, Mr. Fandero.
Let's use the full name.
Mr. Fandero, who lives at 121.
It was their social security number.
Who's done all those murders?
That the police don't know about, but the bodies are buried and...
All the evidence is in his locker. Bert seemed to rethink his actions. The distance between the two men and Chip was too great to cover in one burst. He's got a fucking gun. Just shoot him. Guns go quite far. He's not going to stab him with the gun. Bert seemed to rethink his actions. The distance between the two men and Chip was too great to cover in one burst. If they were to fire at Chip, he wouldn't have much chance of avoiding the shots.
What? So in the first bit he's saying that... Maybe when you said too great to cover in one burst, maybe you meant like running or something?
Why?
Like,
what?
If you say sprint, it's sort... No. It's dumb. It doesn't make sense.
This is confusing and my brain hurts.
Yeah.
Bert walked over to a nervous Johnny.
Take this.
He said, handing him the gun.
Keep an eye on our uninvited guest. I'll be right back.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna call Mr. Fandero, see what he wants done with the ninja.
Oh,
So when he said Mr. Fandero, that must be their boss, like...
Yeah.
Yes, no, but Mr. Fandero wants there to be no psi-wielding witnesses in our sewer drug deal. He specifically said that. Anyone comes along with a psi, make sure you kill him.
Because it seems like they're in the same mafia gang, right? Just the way they've kind of conversed and stuff. And they've met in a sewer with a briefcase and a gun.
It's almost like you don't know how mafia drug dealers work.
Listen, I know everything there is about poker, the mafia,
Sex.
Oh, God, none of those things were true 18 years ago, and none of them are true today.
Central heating in sitcoms are complete mysteries to you, though.
And also, do they know Chip is a ninja, or is it referenced back to the Ninja Turtle thing?
I think Ninja Turtle, because he had, like, the size and stuff.
Right, okay.
I'm gonna call Mr. Fandero, see what he wants done with the ninja.
Bert reached for his cell phone and left Johnny alone with Chip in the sewer tunnel.
What's the reception like in the sewer tunnel?
Perfect, that's why all drug deals happen there. So, how's it work for a guy like you? Chip asked. Shut up! Johnny gripped the gun with one hand whilst the other remained clutching the briefcase full of drugs. Are you the supplier or the dealer? I suppose it doesn't make much of a difference. Still the same worthless scum.
Chip likes judging people.
Making friends.
It's lucky it's not homeless.
I may have tried to destroy the world, but I've never dealt drugs. Hey, watch it, you. Remember who's holding the gun. You do seem to be waving it in my face a lot, but that's probably because you're shaking so much. You think I like doing this? Running crack between one bastard and the next? I didn't choose this life. It chose me, all right? What a load of bollocks, Chip reclaimed. A load of what? There's always choices in life, Johnny. You could walk away right now, go get a job at a cafe, raise some kids. Just like that. Just like that.
Excuse me, Mr. Mafia Boss, I've decided to quit my job. Here's my 2 weeks' notice.
Also,
if you could provide me a reference for the last 10 years that I spent, and I'm sure I can get a job with my criminal record, that's fine.
How do you apply your CV and all your mafia knowledge to a job in Costa?
It's always, about, what's it called, applicable knowledge.
Oh.
Dealing with difficult customers... Customer service, dealing with money as well.
Working under pressure.
Yeah, had to cash up at the end of every drug dealing shift.
Hey, if there's a Costa in a sewer, boom, perfect candidate right there. Also, one of the perks of working in Costa is they give you 3 kids to raise immediately as well. There's always choices in life, Johnny. You could walk away right now, go get a job in a cafe, raise some kids. Yeah, it's that easy. You have no idea what my life has been like. Want to trade? You think the people you work for are bad? You should see some of the ways I've killed people. It was all my choice too, Johnny. That's the bitch of it. I could have said no to being a force of good. I could have turned down the chance to destroy the world. Only I didn't. And now here I am, in New York, hoping it'll all just disappear.
Sure, just tell your life story, Chip.
He's not going to make too much money as a motivational speaker, is he? That pyramid scheme Chip's trying to run is not going to go so far. Who the hell are you? Bert came dashing back around the corner, sliding the cell phone back into his inside pocket. What did Mr. Fantero say? Johnny asked.
I couldn't get a signal of that piece of crap down here.
Oh, there you go. That answers our question. Yeah. So what are we going to do?
Waste him.
Johnny looked up blankly at Bert.
Shoot him. He dies, meaning no more witness to worry about.
But I've never... What if we get caught? I'll never get that job in Costa.
Who the heck is going to find him down in a dirty, smelly sewer?
Bert yelled. I mean, it just seems like every Tom, Dick and Harry comes down into the sewers in New York. Just people randomly stumbles across people. There's fucking teddy bear demons everywhere. Come on. You'd be surprised what lives in a sewer. Chip said. Bert didn't even have time to turn to face Chip as the demon came out of nowhere and sunk its teeth in his flesh. Johnny screamed, dropping the gun. Chip went for his size.
Is this how you do mafia drug dealers like the natural prey of Ricola demons? Demon teddy bears and New York drug dealers. Eternal enemies.
You'd think they would have crossed paths before, considering how they both are in the sewers at all times. I'm kind of sad to see Bert and Johnny go.
Yeah.
I was quite enjoying their little double act.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because we are terrible voice actors, our generic mafia voices are going to come back.
They are.
Because the mafia seems to be quite prevalent in Chip, so...
And I found an amazing new voice by making it slightly deeper.
That's the thing, just change the pitch or tone slightly, completely new character. Acting 101 from the people that brought you How I Ripped Off Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Stumbling away from the card game, Ridley stuffed the money into his pockets, ripping them as he did. Oh, because he's a demon.
Right.
So is the demon trying to help Ridley here, or does the demon fucking love money as well? His mutated hand was too big to fit inside. Ridley roared with anger as he raced down the alleyway, causing a wave of hobos to run for their lives before this strange creature could tear them apart.
Chip's got competition.
God. Ridley went to give chase when he suddenly stopped. His mutated nose, which met with the still human side of his face, sniffed the cold night air. Okay, so it's kind of almost like a Two-Face thing as well. Don't sue me, DC. Something had caught his attention. He changed direction and sprinted away.
It's a hot dog van. He's still enough of a human New Yorker.
Maybe he wants one of those famous New York Subway sandwiches. So I guess we're still learning about kind of Ridley's demon half, but I am a bit confused about how it operates, because it's taking the money, so maybe there's still a part of Ridley in there?
Or is it some sort of, like, instinct thing of, like, I don't know why you would gather money. Resources. Get the valuable stuff.
Yeah.
And the hot dogs. Money and hot dogs. It's all this demon teddy bear cares about.
But what has he sniffed?
Hot dogs.
Johnny's screams had distracted the Ricola from biting into Bert. Its attentions were now focused on him. Johnny threw the briefcase down, causing its contents to spill across the wet floor of the sewer. Ugh, I wonder what cracked shit smells like. Ugh. Probably like shit, to be honest. Don't know why I brought that point up. Bert was almost in a fit-like state. Oh, I thought he was like looking really hot, but as in like he's like convulsing and stuff.
Well, thank you very much. I've been working out.
Bert was almost in a fit-like state, crawling in the dirty swallow water, crying out as his blood dripped out of his wound. Swallow water. That sounds grim, even for a sewer. The Ricola had hold of him for quite a while.
Shoot it!
Bert managed to shout out. Johnny fired at will, but the demon moved too quickly. It dodged and weaved the bullets, and eventually became to be in front of Johnny. Before he could fire any more shots, the Ricola brushed the gun aside, knocking it out of his trembling hand. What is Chip doing at this point? Is he just chilling?
I think so.
It's like, all right, I'll give you about 5 minutes, that's fine.
It's like, well, it's all about choices, Johnny. You could choose to not be bitten by the demon.
Help! Help! The Ricola flashed its teeth and prepared to chomp down when something flew through the air and buried itself into the Ricola's thigh. I mean, go for the head, man. Like, that sounds like a bad miss. Chip stepped forwards, holding the last remaining sigh in his right hand. The Ricola removed the weapon from its body using its 3 fingers it had on each hand.
Don't worry, Johnny. You'll get that cafe job. I hear Costo down the road are hiring.
And they've got 3 kids just for you. Quicker than anything Chip had ever seen, the Ricola snapped Johnny's neck.
No!
And ran forwards, knocking Chip backwards onto the floor.
He's only 1 day away from retiring from the mafia and starting his cafe job.
I feel like if we were filming this, like out of his pocket would fall like a Costa name badge with Johnny written on it, and just like stumble into the swallow water
underneath. But can the Ricola really be the quickest thing that Chip has ever seen? I feel that's unlikely with all the things he's seen.
No, everything gets taller, wider, and faster, MC. You know this. The Ricola is also 27 foot tall. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Built like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids.
Stewing Swosriniger.
Nice. Oh, that was a good callback.
Well, it's like the last episode.
Oh,
so.
okay, it feels like months ago.
The ninja hit his head on the concrete, but knew he couldn't stay down for too long. The thing was quick, and he needed to be ready. He picked up his sai again and tried to look through the tunnel for the Ricola. Ridley had said it was fast, but Chip hadn't been expecting anything like he'd just seen. Because it's the fastest thing he's ever seen. So far, it hadn't been his night. Chip backed up to where Johnny's body lay and checked, just to make sure he was indeed dead. I mean, his head's round the wrong way, man. Like, he's pretty much dead, come on.
Come on, rookie.
Giving him mouth to mouth as he's like, chest down, head backwards, pumping his shoulders. Chip backed up to where Johnny's body lay and checked, just to make sure he was indeed dead. His head had been twisted so hard, his neck muscles had burst and come out of his mouth.
That's how that works.
What?
What? It's like the worst special effects in a shitty B-movie horror film.
His neck had got twisted so hard, his neck muscles had burst. Can muscles? But they can tear and rip, right? But
if you do it fast enough.
And then they'd exploded out of his mouth. I know anatomy. Again, the Ricola struck, this time leaping from the darkness and pinning Chip down. Luckily, for every bit of speed the demon had, it didn't match its strength. The Englishman spun the Ricola onto its back and followed through with a stabbing motion, sai in hand. All he hit was the ground. It caused a ricochet, spraining Chip's wrist. He shook it out, trying to regain some feeling in it. The Ricola had disappeared again, no doubt plotting its next move. They're quick, these teddy bears.
Very.
Chip could feel something heavy on his boots. A helping of brightly coloured goo. God. A mixture between yellow and purple and very thick. The Ricola's blood.
Bleeds gunge.
It had left a trail too, It went across to the other side of the sewer. Again, before Chip could investigate, the Rocola struck, going for Chip's neck this time. Luckily, the ninja was prepared. As soon as the Rocola struck, Chip stepped to his left, using the demon's own momentum against it, throwing it into the nearest concrete wall.
Hey, drink.
Oh, you're going to be so drunk by the end of this episode. A groan behind him distracted Chip momentarily. The second he turned his back, he realised his mistake. The Rocola was gone again. The noise had come from Bert. He'd finally stopped shaking and was crawling towards the briefcase and the gun. Very dedicated to his job is Bert.
Mr. whatever his name.
Fandero. Do you think Fandero is a real surname, or did I make that up?
It doesn't sound... Well,
There's someone listening called Bert Fandero who's really upset with us right now.
Hey, what's so funny? How'd you get my voice as well? I don't get it.
How do you know I work in a Costa? The noise had come from Bert. He'd finally stopped shaking and was crawling towards the briefcase and the gun. Knowing his current priorities were a little more pressing, Chip turned his attentions back to the trail of blood the Rocola was leaving. He had seconds to find its location before it hit again. Following the lines of the thick blood, Chip managed to see the Rocola coming from his right in time to launch his sai. It cut through the air and hit the Rocola. The speed the demon had been travelling at meant it hit the weapon with a massive amount of force. The sai took half the Rocola's head off. The demon hit the floor, no longer moving. Chip using a bit of science there to use the Rocola's own momentum against it.
Very clever.
I think, does that make sense? Does that work? That works, right?
I think so.
I feel like that would be a thing in a comic book.
Yeah.
You know, Spider-Man's all like, this villain is really, really fast. I'll use my own momentum against it and cut its head off.
That's exactly what Spider-Man had. Always cutting off heads, Spider-Man. Fucking loves it.
Bert reached the briefcase and started to repack the drugs. His hand was on the gun, as was Chip's. But like in a romantic Lady and the Tramp
They
moment.
both reach for the gun at the same time and their hands brush.
And then like a heart appears on the screen.
Bert's like, I've never felt this way about a Ninja Turtle before.
There's always choices, Bert. Looks like a nasty love bite you've got there. Chip commented. Bert was unable to speak. His skin was already started to turn green and multiple bumps had appeared on his body. Chip knelt down beside him. That demon, it infected you with its bite. In a matter of minutes, you'll turn into one of them. It will hurt like hell.
Help me.
Bert managed. Not even if I wanted to. Chip replied, standing there holding the gun. See, I used to think I, human soul, was worth saving. That there was good in everyone. I was wrong. Chip opened the gun and removed all the remaining bullets except one.
Ah, good. Chip's redemption arc.
Do you remember in the last episode when he felt really guilty about killing that drug dealer and was like, I'm going to try and plead with the mafia and not cause violence?
That lasted.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that Dudley came along and said, oh, it's fine, he was a bad person?
Ridley.
Yeah.
His name's Ridley.
Him too.
But I'm not a cruel bastard. Anymore. So I'm going to leave you this. Once the pain of the mutation kicks in, you'll need it. Chip dropped the gun beside Bert and turned to leave. The drug dealer let out a few last mumbled cries, but Chip wasn't listening. All he wanted to do was get back to his apartment and rest. It had been a long night. Bert's screams filled the sewer.
So, I don't mean to criticise Chip's actions here.
Or how could you?
I know. But if Bert doesn't shoot himself, doesn't that mean that there's just another Rocola demon kicking around the sewers?
Yeah, I guess he's relying on the fact that it's going to hurt so much that Bert's going to kill himself.
I guess, but like if his arm mutating and shit, he might find it difficult, or he might miss, or not kill himself entirely, or like...
That is definitely one of the flaws in Chip's plans.
Other than that, I mean, it's pretty much perfect.
And also, I get drug dealing mafia people are bad, right?
Yeah.
Is this justice, though, to let him suffer and then kill himself?
Frontier justice, isn't it?
Like, is it... If we are doing Chip's redemption arc again,
Yeah.
is this not really that good. This feels like quite a dark thing to do.
It is quite dark, isn't it?
And I know they're a bad guy, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm questioning Chip's decision here on many levels.
And that Costa is going to be so understaffed now. The manager's going to be waiting. Where is Bert and Johnny? Said they were going to be here. They're always late. Coming in here with mysterious briefcases.
And I like that Chip tried to give Johnny the chat of like, come on, man, be good. You can change. It's not too late. Bert is like, you're going to be in so much pain. Fucking kill yourself.
He said that to Johnny, though, not to Bert. I think maybe Johnny was... There was, the hint of employee of the month at Costa for Johnny, whereas Bert is...
Yeah, but only because he sounded slightly nervous. Like, that was all. Chip didn't know these men. He just stumbled across them.
Johnny was saying, like, think I want to do this. The life chose me.
So you're defending Chip's actions?
No, I'm defending Johnny.
Oh, okay.
He was just a young street kid.
That's fair.
Swept up in sewers and demons and how to make the perfect flat white.
That's impossible at Costa.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes, we're coffee snobs, hello. The experience in the sewer had been useful for something. Now Chip had a fair idea of how the system worked, and he had a feeling that would come in handy one day.
The system, the drug dealing in the sewer before being attacked by demons system.
I think he means the sewer system and its layout.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So what he means is he knows how the sewer system works, because he knows if you just go down there and wander around, you'll stumble onto exactly what it is you're looking for.
Okay, yeah.
Because the sewers in New York are very small and not confusing or windy or anything.
I mean, you say that, but you have no fucking clue how the...
They might well be. There might be just like a room that's the sewer in New York.
There's a guy with a shovel clears it out every day. It's like, I could have been working in a Costa.
They've had 3 kids and a name badge and a disappointing flat white. He pushed open the manhole cover and realised he wasn't too far from his apartment. The first signs of morning life were just peeking through the night air, and Chip was looking forward to a much-needed rest. His nose still throbbed, and the 2 previous battles from that night had left him bruised and battered. As he was pulling himself out of the sewer, Chip felt something grab his coat from behind and hoist him out. Whatever it was didn't stop by picking him up. It launched Chip from one side of the alley to the other. Drink.
Yay.
Oh my god, 3 drinks in one episode. We never got this with Shin no Khan. A wall stopped his progress, and Chip hit the floor with a thump. He winched in pain.
Hey, there it is.
And pulled himself up on a dumpster.
I feel like winched in pain is a drink by itself as well.
It might well be, yeah. I want to drink to forget I ever wrote this, so... He waited to be attacked by another Ricola, guessing it had followed him from the sewer. Is it Bert? Oh. Did Bert turn? Did Chip's flawless plan come back to haunt him? It didn't come. Instead, Chip saw a figure standing by the sewer cover he'd just come out of. I know who this is. Its build was fairly small, but its right side looked pretty strong, bulging with muscles. I'm guessing there's no chance we can do this tomorrow, Chip said. Whatever it was walked towards him, striding with intent. It threw, spelt incorrectly, a right hand which Chip dodged, throwing a left himself into the thing's ribcage. It didn't flinch. It retaliated by bringing its elbow up, connecting with Chip's face. He felt his nose go with a sickening crack and felt the warm blood on his lips.
Wasn't his nose broken like last episode as well?
Yeah, it got broken in part 1.
Right.
And then he fought a Ricola, and now he's had his nose broken...
Ow.
More?
Yeah.
More broken? Before he could get back up, the thing already had hold of him. Lifting Chip by his coat, it slammed him back down onto the concrete. At the second attempt, Chip shifted his weight, rolling across his arm and going into a rollover, taking it down with him.
A rollover?
A rollover.
A rollover.
A roll like at the lottery. Chip pressed his advantage, kicking its deformed head and pinning it down, laying in with right hands. He paused as the first rays of sunlight hit the attacker's face. Half of it looked familiar. The other half looked like a more menacing version of the Ricola from earlier. Ridley? Chip said. Surprise, it's Ridley.
Is it Is it a different version of a Ricola as well? Because it's really strong. We've established this, whereas the Ricola in the sewer wasn't. It was fast.
Ooh, yeah, maybe. I don't know if that's because it's only a half mutation,
Or is it because it's sort of been brewing for longer?
or is it because I'm shit at writing and
Well.
just didn't pick up on the fact that I said that Ricola was fast but not strong, and yet the one that's infected Ridley.
Maybe all Ricola... Let's stop assuming that all Ricolas are the same.
Come
Some
on,
are
society.
strong, some are fast, and some aren't either, and that's okay.
I know what it is. I figured it out. It's because it's the Ricola demon mixing with Ridley's teddy bear blood. Oh. So it just makes it strong and weird. That's what it is. Sussed it. Somebody, guys, don't worry. It's not a plot hole. It's fine. Ridley? Chip said. It snarled and wrapped its massive right hand around Chip's throat. The ninja threw, again spelt incorrectly, a left hook, but to no effect. He tried again, this time throwing a right hook and connecting with the side of the thing's face that looked like Ridley. It realised its grip and fell limp. It/Ridley was out cold. The telephone rang 3 times, awakening Ridley. He quickly realised he was on his sofa in his apartment. The phone stopped ringing before had a chance to figure out where the phone was.
Probably another poker game. It was the other guy saying, like, I know you smashed up the last one.
But we want a chance to win our money back. Morning. Chip startled Ridley. He was standing behind the sofa, holding the telephone. It's nice that this time Ridley is startled by Chip in his apartment.
Oh.
Yeah. Instinctively, Ridley felt his arm. His clothes had been torn, and he could feel his flesh. The bite marks were still there and crusted over. But it was no longer swollen, and he was in control. Only there was a rope around his feet, wrapped all the way around the sofa.
Minor point.
Yeah.
Does Chip know where Riley lives?
Who's Riley?
Ridley.
Dudley.
Dudley.
Dooley.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Because they're in his apartment.
Yeah.
Maybe Ridley had a wallet on him that had his address on a driver's license.
You know when you have like a collar on a pet that has their address? It's kind of like that, just in case he goes all demony, and there's a little tag on a collar that says, if found, please return to Dudley at
Riley. O'Dooley. The bite marks were still there and crusted over, but it was no longer swollen, and he was in control. Only there was a rope around his feet, wrapped all the way round to the sofa.
What the?
Chip walked around to face Ridley and reached into his trouser pocket. He pulled out a flick knife. Now, if I untie you, you promise you'll stay human? Ridley nodded, and Chip proceeded to cut the rope around his legs. Once he was free, Ridley swung his legs round so he was sitting on the sofa and put his head in his hands.
I feel like crap.
He said, "You look better than you did last night."
Last night, I...
Sent me on a mission to kill the thing that bit you? Ridley sighed.
Yeah, I think so.
Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know. I guess I was still trying to figure out what was wrong with me. All I did know was that it needed to be destroyed before it hurt someone else.
Don't give me that. Chip snapped. Oh my god. What? Okay. Chip's back, everyone.
Hey.
Someone flick the switch.
You're lucky you're not homeless or a prostitute.
Some young Costa worker called Johnny died because of you. Don't give me that. Chip snapped. How can you get all righteous on me, knowing what you are?
Chip, man, I didn't...
Shut up! Chip was very angry now. I could have been killed last night, fighting both those demons you sent me after, all so you could try and kill me yourself. What's up with that? Ridley stood, so he was facing Chip. He was hot too. They're about to make out, aren't they?
Really are. I didn't attack you. It was this thing inside me. I can't control it.
Pull the other one, mate. Now, I don't know what your game is, but if you want to go another couple of rounds, then let's go. Ridley started to get a terrible itch in his right arm.
I'm not gonna fight you, man.
He shouted. Let's see what we can do about that. Chip slapped Ridley hard across the face. Ridley, his head starting to shake, felt his right arm begin to grow and that god almighty pain come rushing through his veins. Chip stepped back as Ridley began to change. The mutation was almost complete. when it suddenly stopped.
Ooh, so it is Incredible Hulk sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Ridley let out a cry and revered?
Presumably reverted is what you intended, but you put revered instead.
Okay. Ridley let out a cry and revered back to his human self, collapsing to his knees. Chip knelt down next to him. Anger. That's how the mutation takes effect. He said, helping Ridley back to the sofa.
It really is the Incredible Hulk. Just how fucking obvious could you... You could have at least used a different emotion.
Ricola Demon MC bit him, the teddy bear. Just half of it.
Filled with gamma radiation. I mean, demon stuff. Demon radiation.
Maybe I did this to distract from the fact that he's basically Doyle.
Yeah.
That must have been it. It needs to be slightly different. Incredible Hulk. Anger. That's how the mutation takes effect. He said, helping Ridley back to the sofa.
What?
Ridley asked, clutching his arm. Your infection. I've been doing my homework. Seems you're not the only one to be bitten by a Ricola and live to tell the tale.
You did that on purpose, challenging me. Why?
So I could see it for myself. How it starts and to prove to you that it can be controlled. You brought yourself back.
I meant it when I said I didn't want to fight you. Well, again.
You gave me a run for my money last night. Chip said, sitting down on the sofa.
I know, but I'm just wild. I can see what's happening. I can't control it.
Ridley felt something in his torn jean pockets. He pulled it out and saw a wad of cash.
Well, that's cheered me up a bit. I may be turning into a demon, but at least I got money.
I've lost all my poker buddies. Since I've been here, you're the only one who's bothered to show an interest. Chip said, you've come through with some great tip-offs and I'm going to help you control this thing. I know a little about having a monster inside.
Yes, it was the demon that bit me that made me try to destroy the world. I didn't have any control. Yes, I know exactly what it's like. But you always have a choice, though.
Oh, maybe Chip should have gone to work in Costa instead of going evil and trying to kill his friends.
Those are the two choices.
Remember, kids, if you feel like you want to kill people, just get a job in Costa and everything will be fine. And that definitely won't make you want to kill people. Ridley nodding in agreement and with thanks. But first, Chip announced, standing, I need sleep. See you around.
You will. Later, bud.
Ridley sat back in his sofa and started to count the money, remembering where it had come from, which brought a smirk to his face. He doubted he'd be seeing Mac and his friends anytime soon. Yeah, no shit. Chip's words rang through Ridley's head. Monster inside.
So much creepier.
It's not in his head. Chip's actually come back and just whispered that into his ear. He jumped up from the sofa and reached for the phone.
See what I can do about yours.
He said to himself as he dialed. Someone on the other end answered.
Hey, Sammy, it's me. I'm looking for some info on a guy called Chip Thompson. Yeah, the ninja, that's him. What do you know?
Ooh, but I think... Didn't Ridley know everything about Chip's past and
He
history
did,
and everything
didn't
like that? Yeah. What?
He worked at Costa, you said. Employee of the month? God, this goes deeper than I thought.
But, you know, it's nice to see Chip extending the branch to Ridley. Because
Yeah.
he's been so standoffish against the man that kept breaking into his apartment and knew his entire life story, but apparently doesn't, so he's had to phone someone about it.
He did say some nice things.
Yeah, there's a friendship brewing, I think.
Yeah.
Finally, reaching his apartment, Chip headed straight for his bed, closing his bedroom door and locking it. Weird. He didn't want any interruptions for at least 8 hours. The forces of darkness could wait. And that's where we're going to end Armless Part 2. Well, what do we think of that one, MC?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And that's it, folks. Great. Thanks. See you next time.
I enjoyed the little mafia bit.
The mafia bit was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Ricola Demon's dead, just another interchangeable bad guy, really.
Unless Bert didn't shoot himself.
That's true.
But I'm going to assume that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most interesting part, of course, is the developing relationship between Dudley and Chip. And
Riley.
yeah. Yeah, so it's good that, Ridley's secret is out in the open now.
Yes, I'm really glad I didn't do that thing that a lot of terrible TV series do, where some character has a secret and they they make that last for about 3 seasons, where they're trying to hide things and stuff, and
then they find out, and then they're like, "Oh, how could you do this to me?" Blah, blah,
consequences,
blah, blah.
and that is one of my pet peeves with TV shows. So apparently it was back then as well.
It's because the incredible writing in this series.
If only Hollywood would take notice.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm suspecting it's going to go more the sort of Incredible Hulk route. This is so original, of learning to sort of control his anger and that kind of thing, rather than like, here is the magic cure that stops you being a demon anymore.
Yes, and I reckon it will lead to kind of really helping with missions and stuff like that, and he'll become an ally. And I guess the kind of common ground is there as well. I know Chip's thing was slightly different, but he did have a monster inside, a metaphorical one, which was really him on the outside. But there's a common ground there between Chip knows what it's like to have a power that you can't really control and makes you do bad things.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. I reckon that the Ricola Ridley, the Dadola, I don't know, is going to have his own personality, like Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing.
Kind of like the Hulk and Bruce Banner.
There was a hint of him having his own sort of priorities and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to wind up hating Chip, or there'll be like a big rivalry between them, because he did smell Chip and then go off to fight him.
Yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah. Or I wonder if that was just, maybe it was an instinctive thing, like he smelt Chip as a common smell and was just headed towards him, but because he was going to like beat up the hobos in that alleyway as well.
Yeah.
So maybe his natural instinct is to just rage like the Hulk.
Or to like find another alpha.
Someone who else is good at sex. Also, an episode without a cat, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of said this at the start, is that I think she is a recurring character, but she may be just outside slightly in common instincts, because she's all mysterious and different. So, yeah. Shall we see what next week's episode is called, MC? The next episode is called Hard Day's Night. Don't see me, Paul McCartney. Well, if you are a member of the Beatles, Marvel, DC, and you want to sue us, did you know there's numerous ways in which you can get in touch and send us a cease and desist? You can find us on Facebook, where we're at facebook.com/HowIRippedOffPodcast.
And we are on Twitter at HowIRippedOff.
And you can find our entire back catalogue on SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and YouTube.
And please leave us a rating and review, as it makes us feel nice.
That sounds weird. We don't get bonus from ratings. Well, we do. Yeah, it's true, actually. Yeah.
If you want to give us a boner...